Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating, almost counterintuitive reality about money in America. We're going to break down the data to reveal that real, lasting wealth, well, it's actually learned to go completely quiet. We've been conditioned by social media and TV to think wealth is loud, right? That it's all designer clothes, massive mansions, and luxury cars. But the truth? The truly wealthy are hiding in plain sight. They look completely ordinary, and honestly, maybe even a little broke.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Just picture a typical parking lot. On one side, you've got a guy stepping out of a leased, brand new German SUV. He's rocking fresh designer sneakers, expensive sunglasses, the whole shebang. Now, 3 spaces over, there's another guy climbing out of a 12-year-old Honda with sun-faded paint. He's carrying a packed lunch from home, and his wallet is literally held together by a rubber band. So based purely on the visual evidence right in front of you. Which one would you bet has a net worth north of $2 million? Almost nobody guesses this correctly. Most of us point straight to the SUV. But here's the kicker. That guy in the SUV is statistically likely to be just one missed paycheck away from total financial disaster, while the guy in the Honda is quietly sitting on a fortune. I mean, there are nearly 24 million millionaires living in the US right now. That is roughly 1 in 15 adults. If you're in a coffee shop with 30 people, statistically speaking, 2 of them are millionaires. You literally can't pick them out, because blending in is exactly the point. Before we get into the specific signs of this stealth wealth, we really have to understand the core rule governing all of it. Income is loud money flowing in, but wealth is quiet money that stays multiplied by time. Think about it. A surgeon can make $500,000 a year, absolutely. But if they spend every single cent on a lavish lifestyle, they have massive income, but zero actual wealth. Meanwhile, a plumber making a fraction of that, who consistently saves and invests, quietly becomes the richer of the two over time. The genuinely rich just play a different, much quieter game.
Section 1. The quietly rich and their possessions. Let's look at the physical world for a second. How do the quietly wealthy handle the things they actually own? Well, it all comes down to incredible, intentional restraint.
$770. Let that sink in. That is the average monthly payment for a new car in America today, with a lot of people stretching those loans out to 7 years just to afford the monthly hit. The genuinely rich? Yeah, they do not do this. Research shows the typical millionaire spends only about 1% of their net worth on a vehicle. So for someone worth $2 million, that's just a $20,000 car, usually bought lightly used and kept for a decade or more. They know a new car is just a depreciating asset strapped to a monthly payment, and they flat out refuse to play that game.
Take Curtis, for example. He's a retired high school shop teacher. He drives a 16-year-old pickup truck, complete with a dent in the tailgate that he just never bothered to fix. To a total stranger, he probably looks like a guy struggling to get by on a fixed pension, but his brokerage account is well into the 7 figures. He built it paycheck by paycheck over 30 years. When people ask him why he doesn't just buy a new truck, he says, a car is just a tool to get from A to B, and his truck works flawlessly. That faded paint isn't a sign of struggle, guys. It's the visible receipt of a decision that fully funded his financial freedom.
And this exact same restraint applies to where they live. We always associate wealth with these massive gated mansions, right? But those huge front doors often hide incredibly stretched budgets. The quietly rich do the exact reverse. They buy modest homes, like a standard 3-bedroom ranch, that cost way less than what the bank said they qualified for. They know that every extra bedroom means higher property taxes, steeper insurance, and massive utility bills. By choosing the modest house, they sidestep the trap of a monster mortgage that would otherwise swallow up the exact dollars meant to be building their wealth in the background.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how that exact same philosophy completely alters how they dress. Truly wealthy people have just stopped using their bodies as billboards. Those loud, flashy designer logos are gone. Instead, they opt for a stealth wealth wardrobe. We're talking plain, well-made basics and a sensible everyday watch, instead of some diamond-encrusted status symbol. A person who's genuinely financially secure simply doesn't need a stranger to validate them from across the room. The richest person in the room is often dressed like they're just out running Saturday errands, simply because they really, truly don't care what you assume their clothes cost.
Section 2. Invisible money, the wealth machine. Let's move behind the scenes and see how this builds, because what they aren't spending on cars and clothes is going somewhere very, very specific. The wealthy are operating a massive, invisible money machine.
While the flashy crowd is routing their cash into highly visible upgrades, the quietly rich are pouring their money into a relentless, automated funnel. Step 1, they max out their 401k and IRA. Step 2, they fill up a health savings account, which, by the way, offers incredible tax-free growth. And step 3, once those tax-advantaged buckets are totally full, they don't stop. They just keep feeding an ordinary taxable brokerage account, buying boring, broad index funds month after month after month. The real genius here is the automation. The money just vanishes from their paycheck into these accounts before they even have a chance to spend it on something shiny.
Consider Nadia. She's a hospital nurse making a completely ordinary salary. She drives a hand-me-down sedan and always brings her own coffee from home. Her coworkers, they just assume she's on a super tight budget. But what they don't see is that Nadia has quietly maxed out every single available investment account for over 15 years. Her net worth is literally enormous, but it's completely hidden because it lives safely tucked away inside a brokerage statement rather than being parked in her driveway or worn on her wrist.
And this brilliantly illustrates the staggering mechanical advantage they have, especially when emergencies hit. Look at this math. If you put $20,000 in a typical traditional bank account paying, 0.01%, your reward for the entire year is $2. $2. But the genuinely rich keep their emergency funds in high-yield accounts. That same $20,000 at 4% earns $800 a year, literally while they sleep. To put that into perspective, the rich-looking person and the broke-looking person might have the exact same cash balance, but one is making $800, and the other can barely buy a cup of coffee with their interest.
And man, when it comes to borrowing, the contrast is even sharper. Americans carry over $1.2 trillion in credit card debt. That is trillion with a T. And it's often at average interest rates hovering around 22%. If you buy a $1,000 couch and carry that balance, you effectively end up paying for 2 couches but only get to sit on one. It's crazy. The genuinely wealthy, though, they hunt down bad debt and eliminate it on sight. Sure, they might use credit cards heavily for the rewards points, but they wipe that statement clean every single month. They own nothing flashy, but more importantly, they owe absolutely nothing to anyone.
Section 3. Psychology. The power of enough. So how do they maintain this kind of discipline? It really all comes down to a fundamental shift in mindset.
If you listen closely at any social gathering, you'll usually notice people loudly narrating their spending, casually dropping the cost of their recent trip or hinting at the size of their year-end bonus. But the genuinely wealthy, they go completely quiet when the topic of money comes up. Think about Walt, a retired heating and cooling contractor. He drives an old truck, he always splits appetizers at dinner. You would literally never guess that he quietly owns his old shop's commercial building and collects massive monthly rental income. To Walt, money stopped being exciting decades ago. He treats it like plumbing. It's just a boring system humming in the background that lets the rest of his life happen. I mean, you don't throw a huge party every time your plumbing works, right?
This psychology completely changes how they shop, too. They understand cost as a long-term number. Just look at Marisol. She bought one really high-quality leather bag 14 years ago. Today, yeah, it's scuffed, it's worn, and it is deeply unfashionable. A stranger looking at her might honestly think she can't afford a new one. But actually, scratch that. She has spent far less on bags over those 14 years than a coworker who buys a cheap, trendy replacement every single season. Buying the excellent, durable version just once is a kind of quiet rebellion against a culture that's perfectly designed to make you spend constantly.
And because they know exactly what they value, they have made complete peace with the word no. They easily decline those expensive destination bachelor parties they don't even want to go to, or skip the status-driven upgrades everyone else is obsessed with. Take a guy named Dean. When Dean got a massive raise at work, his friends all went out and upgraded their apartments and leased new cars. Dean? He changed absolutely nothing. His entire raise flowed straight into his investments. He basically mastered the easy, guilt-free no to selective spending he just doesn't care about, relentlessly avoiding lifestyle creep, which, by the way, is the ultimate wealth killer.
Section 4. Real wealth and its true meaning. All of this brings us to the ultimate sign of stealth wealth. What is the actual underlying reward for driving that old Honda and ignoring all the status games? The 10th and final sign is that they have completely stopped performing wealth because they finally possess it. All that energy people pour into looking successful gets redirected into things you just can't photograph for social media. Real wealth buys time, flexibility. It buys the power to walk away from a toxic boss or a nightmare client. It buys the incredible ability to put a kid through college debt-free, or simply take an ordinary Tuesday off without asking a single person for permission. That low background hum of money stress that follows most people their entire lives, for the truly wealthy, it has gone completely quiet.
So the crucial point is this. Looking rich and being rich are two completely different skills. The people who master the actual hidden mechanics of money, understanding compound interest, utilizing tax-advantaged accounts, automating their savings, they almost never waste their time trying to look the part.
They are way too busy actually living life on their own terms.
Which leaves us with the absolute most important takeaway from this explainer. The quiet advantage of the wealthy isn't some lucky inheritance, it's financial literacy. So, what does this all mean for us? Well, here is the real question. Will you take the time to learn these invisible rules of wealth, or will you keep playing a game quietly designed for you to lose? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.